Hello everyone, welcome to this channel and to this video again, and I hope you are enjoying the previous videos, especially the one on the CVs. I did a part 1 and a part 2 CV for you. Today I'm going to show you in this video what graduate school really means. Okay, I have received a lot of questions about what does it mean when we say graduate school. What does it mean? I mean, where do we really start from? Okay, so these are questions I'm going to address by telling you something today. And sometimes I also feel like if you know what it really is, then you know what to do, and you know also where to start from. Okay, so that you don't really start from anywhere alike, but you have a specific point where you can start from, and then you know what to do at each point in time. Okay, because the best thing or the easiest way to accomplish this is to start it. When you have a good way of starting, then it becomes very easy and okay for you. So today I'm going to explain to you what graduate school really is. So when we say graduate school, it's like this. When you come abroad, most of the professors here are conducting a lot of research works, a lot of research works. So what happens is that for them to keep their professorship, they organize or they conduct enough research. Okay, and some of the research they do come from government officials or come from also companies. All right. So, for example, if a company is producing kerosene or fuel, and the company wants to check how much of CO2 is released into the atmosphere as a result of their production, the company may not have enough resources or the personnel and also the academic knowledge in that field to conduct a research to know how much of carbon dioxide is released by their production. Okay, so what happens is that the company will now come to see a professor and give the project to the professor to work on that, because the company needs those results or that report, okay, to grow the company. So because the professor has a well-developed knowledge in that field, then they come to see him. A professor, for example, if it's in petroleum, or yes, they come to see a petroleum engineering professor who has a lot of knowledge in that field to carry out the project. Okay, so when they give the project to the professor, they add money to the project. It's called grant. It's good. So the money they add to the project is called grant. So the professor receives the project and the money, and then you and I know that the professors are not really free. They are very busy, and they don't have time to do the project all by themselves, though they have the knowledge. Okay, so what they do is that the professors then come to look for students, and in this case they look for undergraduate students like you and I who have completed school. So whether you have completed bachelor's, whether you have completed master's, these professors come to look for you so that they can work with you. All right. So because the professor received the project or a research work in the field of petroleum engineering, he then comes to look for petroleum engineering students. So if it is in mechanical, he comes to look for mechanic. If it's in economics, he comes to look for economic students, right? So when the professor then comes to look for students, now the professor will now have to look for students who has research related to that. Remember, he's going to check how much of CO2 is released into the atmosphere as a result of the fuel production. Okay, so now he now looks at a student who has research works in that area, or perhaps has research works that is very similar to hers. So, for example, maybe when you were in your second year, there was a class group project, or when you were doing your internship in your third year, you worked on the release of CO2 in the production of, say, kerosene or in the production of gold, whatever CO2 that is released, anything. But it may not be necessarily related to haze, but it is similar, okay? It is in a way related. So, like this, the professor now sees that his interest and your interest are the same. And when that happens, then you become a very good candidate for the professor to admit or to employ so he can work with. All right? So, the thing is, it is because of this, that's why your research experience in your academic CV is very important, okay? Because when the professor now gets you, he wants to see the past research works you have done. He wants to see your research interests, right? So it is based on your research interest that the professor will now admit you. So when the professor sees that, oh, you are related to his, then he will tell you to apply, and then he will make sure you get admission, and then you come. All right? Now, sometimes when you know you have your well-built CV, and then you are ready for graduate school, you can now also take your CV and then start emailing professors. I'll do a solid video on cold emails, and I'll go into details with that. But this is a general idea, especially for beginners and for those who want to enrich their knowledge about the whole process. Okay, so you get your CV, and then you send emails to the professor. So what do? You go to the website of the school. You search for the specific department, like geography. You search for mathematics, and then you look for the professors in the school or in the department. Okay, abroad, when you come abroad, the professors are mostly called faculty. All right, faculty. So I'll go into details with that. But you will look for faculties whose research interests are in line with yours. And then you can send them an email that, for example, hello, Professor, I'm Patrick, a graduate student from University of Mines and Technology with a bachelor's in minerals engineering. In my past works, I did this, I did that, I worked on this research. I want to be a student. Could you please be my advisor? And I'm going to go into details in that, but you send an email to the professor, and then the professor reads it. If the professor sees that your research interest is in line with his, then that's all. Then he can admit you. All right, he can let you come to it. Now, it's a win-win. It's a win-win affair here. Remember that I said, because the professors wants to keep their professorship, they have to keep doing projects, okay? And you cannot do the project alone, so he needs you. He needs you as a complement to finish up his project. By that, he gets a lot of grants, he gets a lot of projects to do, even from government, from big companies, all right? So it's a win-win. You are not only taking from him, he's also taking from you. So sometimes they think they are using you, all right? They are using you, of course. But I have a question for you. Someone who is in Ghana who just completed school, or from every part, any part of the world, and then you really want to study abroad, but you just completed school, you have no money. And sometimes even it looks like you don't have a very strong and rich family. You want to study abroad, you want to get advanced knowledge to be successful, to help your family, all right? And in places, for those in Ghana, in some villages, right? And then now you complete school, and then a professor says that, oh, maybe you are Eric, you are Samuel. He says, Samuel, okay, I see we have the same interest, so come and study, and then you come for master's or PhD, and then you come to study, and at every month you are given a stipend or you are given money. So the grant or the money that the professor receives as part of the project, out of that money is used to fund you, all right, as a research assistant or something like that. He used to fund you. So if he brings you, then every month he's going to give you roughly $1,200 or euros a master's student. If you're a PhD student, you can take around $2,000 or 2,300 euros, all right, as a PhD student. So you are coming from this village where you didn't even have what to eat, and you're on to advance to help the family, and then the professor says, come to study, and then you study a lot of courses for advanced knowledge. You have increased knowledge, and then on top of that, every month you receive this kind of money, and then when you complete school, you are also given a degree, a certificate, like a master's degree, a PhD degree, all right? So my question is, you and the professor, who is actually using who? Who is actually gaining more? All right. Yeah, you may think you are gaining more, the professor might think he's also gaining more. But it's a win-win. You are not gaining more. It's the same thing. The professor is not also gaining more. It's a win-win. All right. So that is what actually happens. So basically, when the professor then accepts you, then he can accept you as a graduate research assistant. Remember that he got a project that he has to work on, so he now admits you to come and assist him do that project. You come and assist him to do that research. So now you are called a graduate research assistant, and for that you receive a funding money that is called a graduate research assistantship. All right. So sometimes you can also be admitted by the professor, but the professor may not have funding, and he will just employ you as a teaching assistant, where you'll be on a payroll in the department. So now the department will give you stipend, or will pay you as you study, as in a form of funding. Okay, so now that funding is called teaching assistantship, where the professor may not have that funding, but he will let you be an assistant teacher, an assistant tutor, okay, to the undergraduate student, where you will also be paid by the school. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes also the funding may come from a government official, or say a company, all right? It can also be a fellowship, also in the name of funding. You are funded also like that. So this is how the graduate assistantship works, especially when you want to get a position through a professor. Okay, so now this kind of process works mainly in the US and in Canada. All right, in the US and in Canada. I will touch on what happens in Europe. So in Europe, this doesn't hold there. In Europe, they don't do this, okay? Because Europe has a lot of scholarships. You can talk of the Erasmus Mundus scholarships. You can talk of the DAAD scholarships. You can talk of a lot of scholarships in Belgium, in Spain, in Southern Europe, a lot. So Europe has a lot of scholarships. So what you have to do in Europe is not to email a professor. You only have to look for scholarship websites, scholarship offers, and then apply. All right. So as a beginner, or when you want to start applications, you just have to look for scholarship, a lot of links, a lot of scholarships in Europe, then apply with your documents that you have. All right. So basically, this is what happens traditionally when you want to travel abroad. So this is a basic step. All right. If you have any questions, please just let me know, and I will address them. All right. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.